Hi, if you have good inventory that is just sitting and it's not selling for some reason, stay with us. So, in this session, we're going to be talking about what happens to even inexperienced resellers. This goes to hobby sellers, this goes to part time sellers, to full time sellers. So, this is very important that we address this common problem to all resellers. We hear this all the time, and it's frustrating. Most of the time, it's not the inventory. All right, so my name is Clara. I am the co-founder of List Perfectly, and today I'm joined by a very, very special guest. First, we're gonna go with my co-host, Trish. Hi, Trish.
Hey, Miss Clara.
Hi, but the most important guest above myself and Trish, it's
Absolutely.
amazing Vikki Zilverberg, LV Pink Peacock, incredible reseller, early adopter of List Perfectly, experienced reseller in multiple channels, have tested List Perfectly in reselling in different platforms. And what is most important, okay, she's joining us today with her extensive experience in, I'm going to toot her own horn. Now, even Team eBay is taking Vikki, okay, overseas to speak about reselling online. This is just incredible. Congratulations, Vikki, on your success. Welcome, Vic.
Thanks. My goodness, I don't know if I can live up to all those accolades there. Geez. My gosh.
Going overseas, though, Vic, it's pretty exciting. I got to be honest.
I am very excited. Yes. eBay is sending me and 5 other sellers. It's not just me, but 6 sellers in total. We're going to Germany. We leave in 3 weeks, and we will be going to meet with other sellers in the EU and have some roundtable discussions with our German counterparts, and possibly get a chance to speak with some members of German Parliament.
Oh.
And we're doing some sightseeing and stuff like that. So it's very exciting, very exciting.
Oh, that's congratulations again. And thank you for what you're doing for our community. To those of you, I'm going to be sharing later her YouTube and Instagram channel so you can stay connected with Vikki. Because most important today, we're going to talk about a reality that is consistent to all of us resellers. Doesn't matter if you are part-time, full-time, why good inventory sometimes just doesn't sell. And Trish and Vikki and me, we can have the same item, all right? We listed it at the same time, the same content, but somehow the sell-through rate will be different for the three of us. What makes that? What makes that difference? So today, I just want to set the tone that this is not about sourcing differently. This is not about changing your listing flow or increasing our other marketplaces. This is about tweaking our existing process to something that will allow you to fine tune and accelerate your sell through rate, which is the time between we list and the time between we sell, which is very important in order to recognize what categories are working, what titles, what practices. Are my images solid? Should I delist, relist, start all over again, or should I update and just refresh the listing? These are some of the questions that the experience of Vikki will come in hand to you, and she will share with you the best practices and what made her so successful and what made eBay, okay, choose Vikki in order to go and speak not only with other resellers, but we're talking about members from different organizations and governmental members to listen what resellers need. So this session is for you, regardless what level of reselling you have. So let's talk about a little, why don't we start, Trish? What do you think, about starting with the most basic? Because what the core concept is, most tail listings, okay, problems are visibility, presentation, and buyer behavior issues, not inventory quality, all right? So I want to go with the first thing that I think is the most important when it comes to good listing practices. Let's start with the basics. Images.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all have seen a photograph and thought, why would anyone put this on eBay? And I think that can happen to the best sellers, right? I go through my store semi regularly, and every once in a while, I'll see a photo and think, how the hell did I put that up? Or why did I use that?
Right.
We've all done that. And I think that, being honest with yourself and taking a critical eye and really looking at them. Is it framed well? Are you using all the space? Is
Are
it,
you using buyer lingo or
yeah,
res-
well, I mean, that isn't photo related, but it's absolutely true, right? But I think that you need,
wait. But the only reason I brought that up is because, Trish, we need to start naming pictures. Naming pictures is part of listing optimization, believe it or not, guys. If you could name, for those of you that maybe are doing desktop, naming pictures, matching it with the brand of whatever this is very important. It's important for Google, it's important for marketplaces. So that's the only reason I brought that part up.
yeah. Okay, so I just want to kind of explain what you just said to make sure everybody understands. You're welcome.
Yeah.
So when in Google will, when Google Shopping indexes your eBay store or Poshmark Closet or anywhere else, it also will search the image names. So when you have an image and it's like, X4277, your computer just names the image, you can go in and change that image name. And so there is research available, and that shows that if you named it like Free People Sweater size large, image 1, that it then could be found in Google Shopping through the image name, even though nobody sees the image name. Google sees the image name. So
Right.
if you have an item that is sitting around that you think why hasn't this sold? That could be one trick to try. Go back and start again and rename the images and try that, and that might actually help. I mean, that is
Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, and
Listen,
that's more of a
you have a Adidas, title, and the listing says, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, Fila or
Yep.
any other brand. So this is the reason why, hi, Susie from Kansas. This is the only reason we're talking. We started with photos, and the other thing is, please, no stock images. I beg you. I beg everybody. I know we always take a little shortcut there. Let's not do it.
The stock images can be tough. There are a lot of eBay really doesn't like them. I know they're pretty prevalent on Posh, but the issue is we don't owe them.
Them. Okay.
Correct. Google doesn't like them. Vic, what do you think about stock photos? I mean, you mostly sell vintage, so you're not using them, but
I don't use them because of what I sell for the most part, like you said, but I also don't use them for all the other reasons we already talked about. There are lots of brands, they own that image, not you.
Right.
So that's plagiarism. It's copyright. It's a copyright issue. And if they want to come after you, they'll come after you. And is your account ever worth that? No, not in my opinion. They don't index well, as Clara said, and for SEO for Google. That's also very important. I'm sure those images are named something else, as Clara is talking about naming your images. So that also isn't going to help. Also, unless you are selling, even if you're selling a brand new with tags item that you can find a stock photo for, that doesn't necessarily mean you want your buyers to know what they're getting, right? And using a stock photo makes it more difficult. I also think buyer behavior, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I also think buyer behavior that will make you seem less like a small seller, which I think people that shop secondhand shops are looking to support small sellers,
right?
And more like a bigger company. So I think there's a lot more negatives to using stock photos than positives.
Agreed.
And what is your, when it comes to photos, would you mind sharing briefly, what is your photo process, Vic? Do you use a photo studio? Do you use background remover? Do you use both in combination, depending what's best?
It depends on the item for sure. I find that I use Photo Room. I used to use it in bulk when they had the bulk was part of the pro plan, and now they've kind of limited the images on that. So I've taken to using it within List Perfectly now more than I did before. because I do my listings within List Perfectly. So sometimes I'll only remove the first couple of the backgrounds. For me, as far as my photos go, I prefer a white background. I know some people do the gray. Gray's almost as good as white, I think. I think just a neutral plain background that shows the actual color of your item is the most important thing. You don't have to do photo remover or background remover as long as you have a not busy background and your lighting is good. Your lighting is the most important thing. You want your items to, be using daylight bulbs. You want your items to be brightly lit. Certain colors are hard to capture properly. Blacks, reds, deep purple, royal blue. These are all colors that are very difficult to capture properly. So your lighting is going to be tantamount to how your photos are going to come out, because you want your buyer to have an actual picture that represents the article that you're selling.
So Vikki, let me ask you a question. This morning in Mastermind, we actually spent a lot of time talking about this. And one of the things we talked about is setting up a setting up a photograph area or a photo studio so that you're not always like changing and doing something different. Do you use the same place all the time? Do you have something that's set up and permanent?
I do. So you've been to my house, obviously, you both have, but we have an area right off of my office. It's actually right here. My office is the loft area. We have this little, pulpit area that's upstairs in our home. And I don't know what we would use it for if we didn't use it for a photo area, because it's a little useless room.
And it's like kind of round.
It's like a turret. It's like the inside of a turret. Yeah. It makes no sense.
The Vikki, pro reseller tip: if you have a useless room or area in your house, convert it in your photo studio. There you go.
Exactly.
Write that off. Now your useless space is a write-off.
Listen, we're resellers. Nobody has useless space in their house. Who are you kidding?
True.
So I have that set up there, and it's beige walls. So I have 2 ring lights, and we don't use a backdrop there because the wall is beige, and most of the stuff we're going to use a photo remover on. It's a light beige, and it's already a neutral. So there is an overhead light in there, but we don't use that. When you use ring lights, you don't want competing light sources. Right. And I use that, and I use a table with a white mat item for hard goods, and we have a big hook on the wall for clothes because we use mannequins and half mannequins. I don't like flat lay personally. My back doesn't like flat lay, but flat lay just really.
I call it the backbreaker, the flat lay. So to those of you that are young, yes, enjoy doing it on a flat surface. All right.
God bless. God bless you if you like doing a flat lay. It's just not for me.
They put a door, and you can use a door, and then you incline it to what is your preference. But again, I call it the backbreaker. So I think it's not a sustainable practice when those of us that were cranking 40, 50, at least me, that was my 40 listings a day was what I need to do to meet my quota.
Yeah, I think it's important to have a dedicated space. It doesn't necessarily have to be 24/7. You leave it, just for photos. But the other reason I don't prefer flat lay is because when I'm selling vintage clothing, it just doesn't reflect the item very well. They just photograph and look much better on a mannequin. Okay, obviously I have flat lay like pants and jeans here and there, but it's very difficult to get to ask for top dollar like I do on items if it's thrown on a white sheet on the floor.
Yeah. So I do use a flat lay, but I have one of those tables that Clara was just talking about. I have an inverted table.
An architecture table or something.
Crafting table. And that is what I use. I totally understand what you're saying. There are some things that absolutely look better on a mannequin. But for me, regular tops and pants, easier on a flat lay. I can do 50 at a time. And, I feel like I can run through them very easily.
Well, based on what you're selling, I totally would do that. If my average sale price was $20, $30 or something like that, I'd throw it in a flat lay too. If I was selling just t-shirts or sweaters, or sweatshirts, go for it. You need to just recognize what works best for the product that you're trying to sell.
And I think what Vikki just said is a very, very important detail. What I'm selling, my average sale price is like $25, right? So for $25, it's worth a flat lay. if what I was selling was a couple $100, I'm going to spend the time, put it on a mannequin, try to make it look as good as possible and give the best representation. But when it's a time versus money thing also, right?
For
How
sure.
much something is worth and how much time you have to do it.
Right.
I don't know the answer to that question, Clara. Do you? You put it up on the screen.
As far as I knew, okay, we create a URL per image. That means, okay, that the reason that we do that is because we want to make sure that you guys never lose your images. So we have backups of the backups, and the backups has a backup. So let me ask my tech team. Okay, I was just looking at my own pictures, Chris, but I did it with an old extension. So I remember my tech team telling me yes, but I just checked it myself and I'm seeing no. So I'll get back to you, Chris. I love your questions. You got my wheel spinning. Thank you so much as a crucial part. And definitely, if we're not doing it now, I'm sure we're gonna be doing it very soon. All right, so let's talk about, well, now we address the pain points of obviously images, but also one of Trish, you have a very beautiful tip that is my favorite. Before we switch subjects, could you please tell people what to do? Here is okay, I'm gonna put it, look, I'm gonna even do it. Pro tip moment, please, Trish.
One of the things that I would suggest you do if you have items that are not selling is to open an incognito window. And that just means it's a window that has no history in it. So they don't know who you are. Go into eBay, go into Posh, and look for the item that you're selling and see where your item is ranking against similar items, right? And you can also then at that point see, am I using the same keywords that our other people are using to sell this? Am I using the same kind of images? Am I missing something? Is my item not ranking as high? Figure out why. Do most people in this category have free shipping? Do most people in this have shipping that's more expensive, less expensive? What are they doing? Are they having it in the same category that I do? And use as few search terms as you can till you find it. You don't want to put in your exact title because of course you're going to show up at the top. You want to use as few words as possible to find it and then figure out where it's being ranked against your peers. Because sometimes there's something that's happening that we just don't know about, that maybe everybody is taking a certain photo and we're not. Maybe everybody's putting one keyword in and we're not. So sometimes you can learn a lot just by doing an incognito window and searching for your item.
And that's maybe to piggyback on that, and maybe your item that you listed 6 months ago was getting X price, and now the prices have changed, and you are the most expensive person on the page. Therefore, yours is not selling, and that's why. Just for an example, Clara, I know she doesn't actively sell anymore, but she and I sold very similar things for a very long time. And the prices I used to be able to get for vintage are astronomical compared to what I can get now. The vintage market right now has dropped by at least 50% than where it was 3 years ago. So you need to be aware of how trends change and why they change.
Right.
And I'm going to give my tip here. I always say this, one of the things, and please, if you're going to do this, I ask you, don't do this for items that are pricing lower than $500. I consider this a waste of time. But I want to show you, I did this way back then when there barely was Therapeutic. But one of the things that was worth of my time in order to give more emotional value to items, and this applies to clothing and hard goods, it's finding someone that uses it. And doesn't have, in this case, I found Sylvester Stallone using the sweatshirt that I found at the Pasadena Rose Bowl. It was on a dead stock condition. Okay, so I was very lucky. I listed on my website for $500. It sold for $1,000. But that was one of my tricks that I did, and I highly recommend to everybody. And this is just a brand, but you can apply that for trends, okay? And it's something that just to add emotional value, but again, don't do it if the item is priced, it's not worth of your time. That is one of the things that I did in order to overcome those challenges, and concert t-shirts saved me. That was my my saviors. But
that thing, concert t-shirts they've tanked. Sadly.
They've tanked everything. It's really interesting to me how the vintage market has tanked. I mean, it will come back. It's just like anything else.
It's cyclical. It's always cyclical.
Cyclical, absolutely, absolutely cyclical. That is very true. So adapting to changes, understanding that e-commerce is a dynamic industry, is exactly embrace changes. That is crucial in
it's
our
fluid. It's fluid. If you want to stay, you cannot stay exactly the same. What we were doing 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, very little of it applies today. And if you cannot adapt to change and make changes for your business and yourself, you're dead in the water. And all you're going to do is just keep losing money year over year over year and wondering why it's happening.
I mean, and things are only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it.
Correct.
That's it. That's all that it comes down to. It's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. And
perceived value is wonderful. And I very much and strongly believe in perceived value. Again, with types of photos and things that I sell, I do set higher prices. I do command higher prices. However, they're realistic. I have to be realistic for the market.
They're realistic.
I can't say I have this item. I think it's worth $1,000. It's fantastic. And nobody's looked at it in 2 years or sent an offer on it in 2 years. I'm the only one that thinks it's fantastic, guys. I'm not going to get $1,000 for it. So
emotional value.
I have to be willing to meet people where they are. I'm not saying give your stuff away, right? We don't want to, I've said it many times over the years. You're not trying to race to the bottom. You don't want to undercut other sellers. I don't think that's the way to do business sustainably. However,
thank you.
You have to be realistic about what your things are going to sell for. I'm running a sale right now on eBay, for example. I'm doing 40% off all clothing and shoes. Do I ever do 40% off? Not in my store, no, but I'm trying to drum up some business right now. And this past year, I have not been listing a lot of clothing because, as some of you guys know, I've been handling Diane's inventory, which is mostly hard goods. So because I haven't had a lot of activity in my clothing, because I'm not listing it every day, it's not categories I'm touching every day, my sales have been pretty stagnant in some of my clothing areas.
Right.
It also means I haven't purchased anything in a year, right? So now it's just inventory I'm trying to recoup some money to buy more stuff.
That is a good point. I just would like to kind of double down on what Vic just said, because when we talk about our stores in general, right, I do think that the mix that we have counts towards what we're going to sell. Mm-hmm. And if you are somebody like Vic, who was selling a lot of clothing and shoes, and then all of a sudden stops listing it, it's going to affect the items that are already listed.
Correct.
So if you are somebody who is in, like, let's say 3 or 4 categories, in my opinion, the best idea is to make sure you're listing in those 3 or 4 categories consistently. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not, the ones that you're not listing of are not going to get as much play. The categories that you're listing in, that helps that category sell more. And so it's an interesting pick, Vikki, to think. I mean, I really hadn't thought about it, but you basically didn't list any clothes for a year.
Yeah, not quite a year, but like 7 months. So the only clothing I have listed has been my old items that I have reworked, or, listings here and there, things that I've done delist and relist on, and, rework titles and all that. We'll get to that part. But I have not done a lot of new clothing listings. And considering that was 70% or so of my inventory prior, that slowed those categories down.
Yeah.
To the majority of last year. So I am doing more of that now, and hence the big sale too. I send about 10% offers on things that I already have listed at 40% off. I'm not going any lower than that. Now, I don't encourage everybody has to undercut, but I will say again, I have very high profit margins. I have a very low buy price. My average sale price is still upwards of $60. And if I can, I have plenty of room in there. If I, even at 40, 50, 60, I could do 75% off and it'd still make a profit. I'm not going to, but I could. So that's important.
It always amazes me how many people mention that. Like, I have been on lives with
real legal print.
I know, but people mention it all the time.
I love it. Thank you, Vic. Bring it on. Okay. Thank you, Spruce and Gussie. Or did I mispronounce it? Okay, sorry.
No, you did it. Spruce and Gussie.
I love it. That is so neat, Vic.
I bought it at a garage sale for $1.
No,
10 years ago. I sold all the others, but I kept that one.
I didn't know about the dollar, Vic. One of the things, okay, before, I want to talk about, Trish, let's talk about abbreviations, people.
Yeah, no one knows.
Please, okay. So I'm gonna put it, okay, please, okay. Those of you that you might be using, okay, EUC, okay, NWOB, new WT, okay, new without box, new with box, excellent use condition, all that stuff. No, okay, no, please, okay. Vic, what do you think about that?
Oh, we've been saying for at least a decade, don't use that type of stuff. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You might know what that means. The average buyer is not a seller. They don't know what that means. First of all, it messes up your search because it's not a real word. It's an acronym, right? Acronyms don't belong in your titles. You can go ahead and put it in your description, but you should spell out what that acronym means in your description.
Exactly.
Don't put it in your title. You're just wasting space. If it's something new and you want to put new, I generally write new in the title, especially because most of what I sell is not new. I put that as one of my first words in my title. I'll put new. Or I put it at the end. If it's vintage, I'll put dead stock. If I can fit that in my title, because that's a word used in vintage. But I'm never putting NWT or EUC.
Yeah. Oh, what about NOS? What about NOS?
All of them are terrible. They're not helping you at all.
I don't even know what NOS is. New old stock.
Which is basically dead stock.
Yeah.
It's an easier way to say dead stock. If you don't have the room, don't add it. But if you have room in your title, and most of the platforms allow a big title, the only platform that doesn't even do titles is Depop. So
yeah,
sorry.
That's okay. So Vic, when you just started, I mean, I know you sold on Depop before, but you've restarted recently putting stuff on Depop. And so, when you do it in LP, it takes the title and makes it your first sentence in your description,
which is always how I did my own listings. So
that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. Okay.
I did that myself before, so it's actually just saves me a lot of steps.
Yeah.
So just remember, with LP, we'll just automatically create all the keywords and send it in the right format to different marketplaces to increase your visibility, whether it's Etsy, whether it's Depop, you name it, we're going to create it for you and do the hard work. And like Gina said, thank you, Gina, we'll create complete optimized listings from just, and we can do it in batches now from just your images. And at the same time, you can create even your own tone. And if we haven't released it, Trish, you were there the other day, we're releasing that own tone for batches, you name it.
Oh, good.
Yes. Okay. So it's coming. If we didn't, okay, I'm sorry. It's coming. Literally, it's coming in a couple of days. All right. But I know that
I'm going to say I was a very early adapter of the Express Lister. Well, I shouldn't say that. I didn't do it when it was in beta at first. I didn't do it when it was in beta at first because I was doing 99% clothing, and it does take a while for the clothing to understand. You have to teach it, right? So I loved it from the beginning for hard goods and shoes, and I've been using it all along. I actually use it for all of my clothing items now, even the vintage, because even if it doesn't necessarily find the exact item, because we know AI works, it only works if it's available on the interwebs is where it's pulling the information from. So if you have an item and you're the only person that has that item, or your item's 70 years old, it's not going to find the darn thing unless there's another person selling the same thing. So it's limited, right? With clothing specifically is what I'm talking about.
Well, but clothing vintage specifically.
It's vintage clothing specifically. Yeah, if it's modern, it's going to find all the things.
Right.
But with vintage clothing, I find that I still use it. I will still use it because what I love about it, and I've talked about this many times, is the hashtags and the themes that it pulls out of your listing. And it's going to do 80% of the listing for me. I still have to go in and tweak it, and the measurements it may not always catch all the time. Because I mean, come on, how can they know from a picture unless you've got your whiteboard or a measuring tape? It's going to guess the measurements, right? So you have to double check and make sure the measurements are correct. But also, and I'll tweak the title, and maybe I'll take a couple hashtags out that aren't correct. However, it gives me the foundation and the basis of like 75, 85% of what I'm going to do. It cuts my listing time down in less than half, and I was already a fast lister.
You know what? It removes when you are in front of the keyboard and you're like, it removes those.
What do I say about this thing?
Yeah, right. Where do I start it? when you have to think, okay, keywords, which one I put first, so
And I use the professional one. I know some people like to use the funny or slightly funny or whatever. I use professional because I was always a bullet point lister anyway. So I don't use the funny. I'm not trying to be funny about a vintage dress.
I love the storyteller. For me, with vintage or anything, I love the story. Make it long listing. And that's what I think, for me, what it works, okay, is addressing ahead possible buyer objections. For me, for example, including measurements was the best thing. Even though you waste time, you can see it as a waste of time when you're listing, or you can see it as an investment of time, because then if there is an item not as described, because it's too big, it's too small, or whatever it is that they think that it doesn't fit me, or or whatever it is, you can have that information to back it up. The same goes with fabric or material. I think that Gina was saying, Clara, I also heard you say no cotton blend. I love that Vikki is here. If the tag, okay, I don't know, Kitty, let's go. Okay, Vikki, let's go on this. So if the tag says, which is very unusual, okay, but maybe modern tags do. If the tag says cotton blend, let's go, okay? But if you see cotton percentage and then poly, put it on the tag, because it does feel differently. Cotton versus poly, cotton versus acrylic, cotton versus expandex, cotton versus rayon, you name it, okay? It makes it for us, for the buyer that doesn't have that possibility of feel the texture, describing whether it's 100% glass, transparent, vintage, you name it, okay? What is it they call it? The what is it? Depression era glass. I don't know. You name it, okay? But I think that that's very important, that we help people as describe the material, the fabric of what we're selling as much as possible.
I spell it out. I will type it out in my description. I know that it's not always possible in item specifics, like on eBay, or sometimes you can't. I will choose cotton blend on eBay, but I'll put it in my description, a photograph of the tag if there is one. A lot of times with vintage, you don't have tags, so you're guessing. If you're someone that knows fabric, I will put it's quite possibly cotton, but at least a cotton blend. I'll put that in the listing. Sometimes you can tell it's 100% cotton, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just know it's like a poly blend of some sort, or it's an acrylic blend of some sort. That's what I'll put in the description. I'll put, there are no tags, but this feels like an acrylic blend. That's what
I would say. Feels like that was my keyword. Feels like acrylic blend, no tags. Done, and I won all my cases. Never lost one.
I wouldn't go that far as eBay winning cases. There's very few that a seller is going to win for any reason these days.
I agree.
But
they have really, it is very hard to get a
right now.
I'm talking about when they are like, you sold me the wrong item with the wrong feeling. You see, that's obviously there is a million ways, but I'm talking about when they are like, when they're, when they're, oh, this is poly and cheap, and you're like, dude, this cotton blend, it's like, and they're trying to argue with you, or sometimes they're like, oh, this is not cashmere. Well, I said it was polyester, right? And it's a big thing, it's like, so there is people that will have bad practices that I recommend not to do. If it is not that material, don't say feels like cashmere, but material is polyester. So make sure you don't do those. Are literally an invitation for you to get a item not as described.
Right. So, I'll say something is like satin. Satin is usually a poly blend or an acrylic of some kind. You're not going to say it's silk. Don't put silk.
No.
I will put in the description. I'll put it's satin. It feels silky, but it is polyester. That's about how something feels, or if it's got a shimmery, texture to it, or look to it. Liquid satin is one example. Liquid satin is a vintage fabric. You can find it on modern things here and there, but it's a vintage type of fabric, that the way it drapes, the way it feels, it's caught in the bias. There's certain things about it that are different, but it's also very popular in vintage. So it's something you want to acknowledge, but don't get tied into exactly what the fabric content is on it.
When do you, Vic, decide that that something needs to be revamped? Like, when do you decide that I've had this up, it is not selling, or it doesn't have the watchers, or whatever your criteria, how do you decide this, and what's the process?
So for me, it's going to be, I'm going to let everything marinate at least 6 months. For all the reasons that we've learned for many years now about SEO and having it be entrenched properly. If you're selling multiples, that's a very different conversation. But if you're selling one-off items, giving it, a solid 6 months. Okay, I've had it for 6 months. It's been in a sale here or a sale there or whatever. I've gotten offers here or there. If it's more than 6 months old on eBay, it's considered stale, and stale listings are suppressed. Period. No, there is no list it and forget it anymore. That is a mentality that is costing you money as a reseller. That is something we used to say. You don't want to touch an item 800 times. You don't want to touch your listing 800 times. I understand that. That's the way it used to be, but that's not the way it is now. Right? Yeah. There's no list it and forget it. There's no, I'm not going to put anything on sale. There's no, I'm not going to send any offers. Okay, maybe if you want to be a hobby seller and never sell anything, fine. I'm not going to tell anybody how to do their business, but if you want to be successful, you have to know how to work the system, right? You have to, we talked about, you have to like massage your listings. You have to take them out to dinner. You have to make sure that they're happy. A happy listing, happy wife, happy life, happy listing, happy sales. I don't know.
Happy listings, happy resellers.
Right. I mean, you got to do all the things now. It's a lot harder to sell items than it was a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. We've all seen, I would say not all, but I'm gonna say based on my Facebook group, based on my YouTube channel, based on the interactions I do with sellers all over the world, pretty much. Everyone has seen their sales decrease over the past year or two. Buyer behavior has changed. Buying online has changed. And unless you're selling something that is a hot commodity, you are probably seeing that your sales are stagnant or have slipped over the past few years. I know mine have. My sales are definitely down. So I'm doing all of the things possible to fix that. So my listings, I will say I have a handful of listings that are probably a year old. But what I do is I go in. My goal, it doesn't always happen, but my goal is to go in and rework 10 listings a day, 10 old listings a day. I do a minimum of 10 new listings. I'll cross
in addition of the new ones, right?
Correct. Because you want to always have a net positive when you're listing.
Oh, thank you, Vikki.
You want a net positive when you're listing. You don't want to take 50 listings down and put 4 up.
Right.
That doesn't look good. So I only take down listings that I know that I'm going to have time to rework and do that particular day. So I generally will do 10 at a time. Sometimes I will do more if I have more, but I'll do a minimum of 10 new listings on all of my platforms. And then I will do a minimum of reworking 10. Sometimes I have time for more. Sometimes I don't. Depends on if I have to take pictures that day or not.
And I really love the idea of the net positive. The first time I heard that, I think it was from Chris Dunnard, and it has stuck with me since then. I think it is the best way to talk about this and about, I mean, it's an idea that we all were trying to do, but I never thought of it in that exact term. And I think that it is absolutely critical, especially on eBay. I think eBay, when your store starts to shrink.
And Poshmark right now, because of the Poshmark, the delist and relist. If you're someone like me that I have a large closet, I have about 3,600 items on Poshmark. I'm never and have never received a warning, and I won't, because I'll go in and end my sales there that sell on other platforms. But because I'm always delisting and relisting, I'm never hitting that greater than whatever the percentage is, 10% that they don't want you to do a month.
It moves. It's hard to know.
I don't know because they haven't really been definitive about it, but I haven't received any of those things. And I use a bot, right? Everybody uses some sort of bot, an automated system. If you have a big closet on Poshmark, it's kind of necessary to do the sharing and resharing and the following and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, you got to.
It is what it is.
Vic, you have a bot, but the thing is that you use that bot with strategy. There is
correct
that they put their whole business strategy on the bot. And here, delete and release my whole closet daily. Okay,
yeah, I don't do that.
That's the thing. That was the problem that desperately Poshmark in every marketplace is trying to,
because you're crashing everybody's servers. They're having to spend so much money on energy and server space.
And not only server, destroying the SEO. So guys, one of the things I love about eBay is when you go to your active listings and they have the columns of impressions, viewers, and watchers. That's the most beautiful thing that for me exists in order to understand buyer behavior. If you want to understand buyer psychology, why do I think this is the best tool, even above my own tool? Is because eBay has the biggest audience, mic drop, okay, of all the platforms I have. And they're giving you right then and there. What is an impression? Is when I surf through your listing, but I didn't remain, I didn't add it, okay, as a watcher. I didn't even view it. I just surfed through it and somehow I didn't get engaged on it.
I
Now,
scroll right by it on the screen, just so everybody knows. So you're searching, red polo, it goes by you. That's an impression, but you didn't click in, right?
Now, if I click on it, now it becomes a view. So what happens if I have, guys, too many impressions, all right? Low impressions and a lot of watchers. That listing is underpriced. I'm telling you right now. What happens if you have many impressions, no watchers and no viewers? That's when you need to end that listing. Give it 3 to 6 months, like Vikki says. All right. There is a little disagreement. We love you, eBay and other marketplaces.
eBay is saying 90 days. eBay is saying
yes, I know. Like 90 days here, and then
I personally think it's closer to 6 months.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
But again, you got to do what you've got to do. There's also something that we talked about buyer behavior quickly. And I'm going to tell you straight from eBay's mouth. And I know Trish has heard this as well. The buyer behavior pattern, people used to think you had to list every single day because of your algorithm. They want you to see the new listings. They want to see the new listings. That is not how the algorithm actually works. The reason why you want to be listing daily is because of buyer behavior. And buyer behavior means that when you have a brand new listing up and it catches someone's eye, they're going to click on your listing. And what that's going to do is when your listing's open, you can then click and see sellers' other listings. Once they click through to that second click on your listings only, that is what you're trying to capture with listing daily. That is the buyer behavior you want to capture daily. And this comes straight from eBay. This came from Valerie at eBay. She just said it at my meetup the other week, and she has said it more than once now over the last year. That is what you're trying to capture, because that second click, they're looking at only your items. They're in your store looking at your items. That is driving traffic to your store. That is not, it's not just throwing up 100 new listings a day. It doesn't matter whether you do 5 or 100.
Yep.
It just needs to have some activity and some consistency activity. We talk about listing X number of items a day every day for consistency. That's to teach you. That's not to teach your buyers.
Yeah, I want to make
condition you to treat this like a real business, to treat this like you're trying to meet goals and you're trying to accomplish.
But you know what, Vic and Trish, I'm gonna hear. I'm sure there's people at home right now saying, "Oh, but this doesn't apply to me because I sell one of a kind." Well, let me tell you, all right? Okay, once you surpass 3,000 listings, my life changed, because that's when my buyers started, or they would buy a second item, or they would say, "I love your store. I'm going to tell my daughter, my friend to come and shop." Why? Because they're supporting small business. So make sure, all right, that we even have description footers in List Perfectly where you can quickly say, "Hey, buy from me because you're supporting a small business owner," let's say like Vikki, that loves vintage clothing, and this is my only source of income. Thank you for supporting a small business. You see, this is very important. Yes.
Well, and there are some categories, and vintage I think is one of them, but there are others. There's lots of them: coins, stamps, postcards, that are very niche specific and that people collect. And when you find a seller that gets items regularly that you would be interested in, you'll go in and follow that store, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, as a used clothing seller of generic clothing, I don't think this ever applied to me as in my business, right? I don't think anyone ever cared that they were buying their jeans from me, right? But I think if I was selling what you guys sold, I would be much more cognizant of the buyer that way, right?
Yep.
For me, it was always about getting the numbers up. So I am a very big proponent of listing daily. And while it doesn't work on the algorithm the way that it does on eBay, it does on other platforms. It does on Depop. Depop itself says, if you were going to list 10 items, we would rather you do 3 a day than 10 on Monday. I'd rather you do 9 in 3 days than 10 in 1 day.
Yep.
So while it doesn't feed the algorithm the way that it does on Depop on eBay, it still feeds the algorithm. And I think the number one thing that you as a business owner can do is to list daily. Now, I understand that it feeds it differently, but Vikki is absolutely right. It trains you as a business owner and it makes you accountable to yourself. And listing daily, I think, is absolutely one of the best things that you can do for your business. And it is the only thing that makes you money. That's the only thing that you do that makes you money. Not buying it, right? And even shipping it. Those, I mean, you have to ship. I no longer own this iPhone. I have to send the iPhone out. I don't any longer own it. I have to send it to Vikki because Vikki bought it. Right. But the only thing that can make me money is the listing. Yeah. And so I think listing daily is absolutely imperative. And that is a hill I am willing to die on.
I agree with you. I agree. And I will tell you that there are certain, now Poshmark may not require listings daily, but it definitely boosts to be doing the delist relist that we do, right? Poshmark rewards new listings. You just said Depop does as well. Yep. Depop shows activity. Even if you log onto your Depop account, it shows you've been active that day. That tells your buyer that you're a serious seller, for one thing. But also Etsy absolutely rewards daily listing. If you go without a few days, you're going to see a drop in sales. You see a difference. It doesn't even have to be the same category. Just for me, I make sure that I have 5 new listings on Etsy every day minimum. And I do have someone that does my cross posting for me, but some days she's not feeling well, right? She's some of you guys know she's sick. And it's my way to help her and she helps me. She does my cross posting. But sometimes she doesn't have time to do it or she's not feeling great. So if I look in my list perfectly and I see my drafts and I can tell that she hasn't cross-posted anything in a few days, I'll go and I'll do 5 on Etsy and now I'm doing 5 on Depop. Posh, my bot does it, so I don't really need to worry about Posh pushing it myself manually. But I always do all the eBay. So that's how I, make sure that I'm having activity across all of my platforms every day. And I think that that's the most important thing. It's not that you have to list 40, 50, 60 items a day, although that's great to a degree. At some point, you're going to top out.
But it also matters, Vic, it also matters what your business strategy is, right?
Sure.
If I only listed 5 a day, I'd never make enough money to support myself.
Oh, right.
Because my items are because my items are too low value. So I just want everybody, when we say like, how many items do you list a day? What really matters is not only that you're listing daily, but you are listing enough product-wise money that you can make the kind of money that you want to make.
Exactly.
So the difference between, Vikki and I might list 50 and Vikki lists 10, but it could be the same amount of money that it's worth.
I might be listing 10 items a day, but their value, my daily value is at least 500.
Right. So that's exactly. There is a lot of layers to this that I think that when you decide I'm going to do this full time, that you need to think about. And it's not just what you're listing every day, but it's how much that is worth. And then if we're going to get technical, what the sell through is of your store to make sure you're listing enough that you can kind of make the money you want to make. So
and your sell through rate does, and I know Trish has talked about this before, your sell through rate really does depend on what you sell. That's I'm going to be very fair about that, because my sell-through rate is not even something that I enter into an equation.
Right.
Because my sell-through rate, being a vintage seller, everything is long tail.
Right.
So I'm not looking at 30, 60, 90 day sell-through rate. I'm looking, have I sold this item? If it hasn't sold within 2 years, then I got to eat it. Right. But if it's sold in fast, some stuff will sell fast.
Yeah.
Some stuff, it's the price.
I was able to accelerate as a vintage seller with having my own website. So social commerce and my own website, that was key for me. The second that I never tried to steal traffic from eBay, I did it all the way around. I was sending traffic to eBay because I didn't want to pay for advertising. So everybody knows I did social commerce, and that was a way that I was able to stay consistent because I wasn't paying marketplace fees on my website. So
if I were smart, I'd be doing that too. I would be using my Instagram. I would be.
I have Monday, Vikki. So Mandy built it. I'm like, guys, I am the non-technical founder of List Perfectly. So yes, Mandy built a website. She managed it. I have no idea, but that was to those of you nowadays. You have Shopify. It's not something that I encourage everybody, but definitely that helped me. All right. But it's definitely something to try. The problem with websites is that you have to drive the traffic yourself. But that's why I use Instagram as a channel to send that traffic.
If I was a better influencer, I absolutely would have a Shopify store because I sell vintage. And if I had been able to brand myself properly, I would be able to drive traffic there. It's just one more thing that I just cannot get my brain around.
However, we're too busy with Boss and eBay. Yes, we were too busy helping our community instead of trying to make money out of content. And kudos.
That's probably true.
It is. I am a witness, friend.
So, I don't have enough bandwidth to do that too. Although I am going to be doing live selling this year. I'm going to be doing more of that. I do think that is important. Trish and I have talked about it a lot. I've done it a few times. I've dipped my toes in the water. I've sold on Whatnot. I've sold on District. I did just get back onto District, working with Misty Pate, Thrifter, Junker, Vintage Hunter. I'm under her umbrella on District, and she just added vintage clothing. So she's got the 3rd or 4th largest channel on District.
Wow.
So that makes more sense for me, getting under someone that already has a following versus me trying to build my own on Whatnot. Whatnot has a bigger audience, but it requires more loss leaders to get yourself there. So I'm going to work on this first and see how that goes for me.
That's exciting, Vikki.
I'll be doing it at least once a month.
Wow.
Ideally, it'll be once a week, but anyway.
So, everybody watching, Vikki's gonna please share on List Perfectly Facebook group. When you do this, we will go and support you. Happily to do so. If there is someone that has a beautiful personality to do live sales, I can't wait to watch your show, Vikki.
I do love it. I've done a few, and because I love vintage, I like talking about them and merchandising the item.
I heard you, and you're so wise. You start with a peplum, I don't know, a wasp waist, peplum show. You start speaking like that, and I love it. You're so wise.
I know how to create the excitement around the item. It's just I've always had a hard time getting an audience to like. I would love the support. Don't get me wrong, but you guys are not my target audience, right? I don't want to sell to other. Well, I guess I could sell to other resellers, but I really would rather sell to collectors or buyers, because that's where you're going to get the most, money for things. But also, you're going to get return buyers that way. So that's what that's my goal, is to work on building that this year, because I think, again, and I'm just going to say a blanket thing, if you are not live selling, you're missing the boat. You really need to get on live selling within the next few years, because it is such a huge, whether it's TikTok, Whatnot, your own website, Instagram, District, whatever it is. And I don't have any of these things. I'm not referring anybody with some referral code, right? You just have to do it. Bite the bullet and do it. Figure out how to do it. I'm someone that joined a YouTube channel because my wife has one when we first started dating. And if you look at back some of our old videos, it's like Ma and Pa Kettle with me with the camera. I couldn't talk. I didn't know I was so awkward. I didn't, it is not my thing. I can talk to a brick wall, but on the camera, I froze. I didn't really know.
Deer.
Yeah, deer in the headlights.
Me too. Oh, it took me a while to get used to. Oh.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Gary Vee has been saying for 10 years that live selling was the next market. And love him or hate him, the man's a brilliant businessman. Yep. He knows what he's talking about.
Yep.
So when he said 10 years ago, before Whatnot even existed and people were just starting to sell live on Instagram, he knew what he was talking about. He knew that this was going to be the new wave of selling and the new wave of shopping and buying. And he's not dumb. Yep. It took me a long time to swing around there. But here's the thing. The market share as a static e-commerce seller has dwindled. So you've got to expand where the buyers are.
Same. Let's talk about that, Vikki. I've been dying. Okay, everybody, I've been dying to ask this question. Vikki, are eBay, Poshmark, and Etsy buyers the same or different?
All different. All three are entirely different. And I've said that from the beginning when I started cross-posting. I was manually cross-posting to Etsy for a couple of years before List Perfectly existed. And that just ramped up my life. But Poshmark buyers are not shopping on eBay. eBay buyers are not shopping on Poshmark. Etsy buyers are only shopping on Etsy.
Oh,
I get my highest prices and I do not accept returns, and I never have returns, and I never have disgruntled buyers on Etsy. I love Etsy.
I
Etsy is
love
the
it
second
too.
largest platform, but it is my favorite by far. I love Etsy. Now,
And everybody that I've spoken to this past like season, Etsy was great over the holidays this year. Like Etsy
100%.
really seems to be taking a little bit more of the market share.
Yeah.
I don't know what
especially
they're
in that-
doing or how they're pushing the market out better, but they're way better at marketing their platform than eBay is.
Yeah.
I love eBay. eBay may still be the biggest, but they are 5 years behind on tech at minimum, and they always have been. They're never going to catch
an
up.
older company. eBay, we gotta understand, eBay is what, a 30-year plus company. Okay, so it's an older company. They have a legacy system. They have legacy things. Depop and Etsy are younger companies, and don't forget that Etsy kind of took off when the CEO of eBay left, and he went to Etsy and took some things, that I thought, hey, this is what was working on eBay. And that was interesting. And I thought that's when Etsy that was like what, 16, 17, 15 years ago. And I think that was a big change that Etsy did with the new CEO. And that changed things, at least for me, at that time forever.
Well, and I think what Bill is, that's what Bill is saying is really a good point. And this is a good point that Bill is saying also.
Yeah.
Everyone that I talk to gets more money on Etsy for the same thing that they would get on eBay. And so if your items can be on Etsy, so like mine can't, okay? Like Etsy has a very specific things that they want, handmade items that you're used to make things. They have like a crafts, arts and crafts. I'm sorry?
Supplies.
Thank you. And then also vintage. And if your items fall into that category, you should absolutely get yourself on Etsy. If you weren't interested in Etsy before, I think it's time you get your butt over there.
I'll also say this, while my eBay income has dwindled over the last several years, it is still my number one platform, but I didn't hit 6 figures last year. It's the first time in 10 years.
Wait, you didn't? I know your income, friend. Wow.
I know you know. That's my first year ever.
You've been helping the community a lot, Vic, okay? I've seen.
No more. That's it. Forget it. Forget all you people.
But no, one of the things I want to say, okay, Etsy's doing great. And you brought up some things, okay, that Etsy's not only marketing themselves better, all right, but they're applying, okay, processes better. I want to remind everybody that Etsy's also its own Depop, okay, the same company, Etsy and Depop. And I want to mention that one of the things Vikki does, okay, even though she promised me I would never sell in Poshmark, she ended up selling in Poshmark.
I do.
Now, she even opened her Depop account 4 years ago, didn't use it. And what did she do a couple of days ago?
I did. I reopened my Depop. I only listed 15 things there in the last 4 days or so, and I've already sold 2. So implementing some of the tips from your Depop Live. Now, one of the things I've always done is I've kept my prices the same across the board, right?
Yeah.
And I know that I have sales on eBay, so that kind of makes things different. On Depop, I'm not doing that. I'm putting 10% above the minimum I would accept on that platform, which means it's probably 50% cheaper on Depop than it is on eBay. But again, it's different buyers. If people were shoppers, they'd be buying my things at the cheapest price.
Right.
So wherever that platform is, and all my platforms are going to have different prices. I will say this: while eBay has had diminishing returns over the past few years, for me anyway. Etsy has had a modest 10, 15, 20% increase every single year in sales with the same platform, with the same products that I'm selling everywhere. It's not like I have different products on different platforms. Everything's on eBay. Everything vintage is on Etsy. Almost anything that's under 5 pounds is on Poshmark. And then Depop will be a little bit more curated for me. As far as Depop, I'm going to be doing modern, trendy, Y2K and 90s. Nice. I'm not putting everything on Depop. Depop will be a little bit more curated, and I think looking for a faster, younger audience because that's who's on there for me.
Yeah. All right, so I want to do 2 plugs. One plug is that next week, we just announced this morning. This afternoon, it hasn't even been announced, but next week, Team Depop is going to come to Listing Party. We're going to have 2 Depop employees on Thursday come in and speak to us, and you guys can come in and ask questions. And, if you are having trouble or you want to figure out a way to make more money on Depop, Thursday afternoon, 2:00 Eastern, we are going to have Team Depop in the house, and there's going to be 2 people. And I do not think it's going to be Jack and Ryan. I think it's going to be 2 different people. Yeah. So please, mark your calendars for that, and we'd love to have everybody join us. The second thing I want to make a plug for is if you go up, Clara, I'm just gonna put.
You can log into Listing Party with the same idea of list perfectly. All right, and then we go to events. All right,
I wanted to plug Bill and yep, right there. Go down. You're almost there. It's red, right? Keep going, right there. They're doing an Etsy, a 6-week Etsy course. Robin and Bill have been. I think this is the 3rd one, about how to get Etsy off the ground, how to make more money on Etsy. If you're new to Etsy, because Etsy does have its own look. They all have their own things, right? You have to understand how things work on each platform. But Etsy, if you have any vintage, I'm gonna, say you're leaving money on the table if you're not listing on Etsy.
Get it on there.
Get it on there. And so if you're new to it or you're afraid or you feel a little bit apprehensive, please come and join Bill and Robin at this. And I think that you'll really find it helpful to get yourself there. So, Listing Party has absolutely been growing lately. We are getting more and more parties on more and more different topics. And we really are trying to make this a place that's going to help you get your business to the next level. And, we take that really seriously at List Perfectly. I take it, for me personally, that's like what I kind of think my calling is here, is I really want you guys to be as successful as you want to be. And I try to give you the best information that I can get my hands on. And so, please look at Listing Party. If you are using List Perfectly and you're not listed in Listing Party, come and check it out. And if you are new and you are not using List Perfectly, let me just say you get Listing Party as part of your subscription, and you could always sign up for the 5-day money back guarantee and come in and check Listing Party out. I had somebody tell me last night, who I'm not going to call her out on the carpet because she's a nice woman and I don't want to make her, but she told me she really doesn't cross list or do anything. She just pays so she can come to Listing Party. And I really, I was thrilled to hear that. So I hope that if you are not using us, that you guys will come and, look into it and join us.
And I'll just say this as a not employee of List Perfectly, right? So, we've got Trish talking about all the highlights, which I agree with 100%. But I will say I'm not an employee of List Perfectly. I don't work for them. I've been using, the platform since the beginning, and I've done, I've talked about it many times that it has increased my income exponentially. But also all of the things that come with your subscription, right? And I'm going to say it because you didn't say it, but when you subscribe for the first time, there's a couple of things I'm going to give you some pro tips on. Use that 30% off coupon from someone. From me, if you want, it's LV Pink Peacock. However, use that, get the highest plan possible. When you sign up to use it at the highest plan possible. When you have the time to fully dive in and use it to its full potential, go in and use that 30% off, because it's going to bring you down to the lowest cost, or one of the lowest costs possible. So you're not spending any more for it, right? Go in and use it, figure out what all the bells and whistles are. Use it to do one click importing. Use it to go in and make your life easier to start from the very beginning. And then you can fine tune what items you're going to need and use going forward. You can always downgrade, but it always hurts more to upgrade, right? So, and I'm going to tell you, I do have a lot of people that I've referred over the years, but I will say the majority of the people that I've referred use the Pro plan. And I've not seen a lot of downgrades from that. And the reason why is because once you've used it and you see all the features that it offers you at the higher level, it's going to be really hard to go down to the lower level and see what you might have to subtract, right? And if you're using it correctly and you're using it the right way, it'll pay for itself within one sale.
I agree with that.
Just getting pay for itself in one sale. If you use it and every single month, just think one sale, be like, oh, that paid for my subscription.
Right.
Oh, that paid for my subscription. And it's generally going to be on a platform you don't sell on. So it's extra money. It's not even that one sale that's taking away from your daily sales that you already sell or that daily budget that you already have. It's something that is it's going to be additional revenue stream. So it's always going to be worth it, even if it's just to get you on one additional platform. I don't use all the bells and whistles. There's so much that is in that platform that I haven't even touched on half of it. But like, some people use it just to cross post. My wife uses hers just to cross post. She does not keep her inventory.
Some people
has no catalog.
Hey,
but that people make my heart hurt. I guess.
But that works for her. So, and she's even more stubborn than I am, which is saying a lot. So
use LP. We don't impose a way
No.
of doing things. You can go marketplace to marketplace. You can go to LP, so we can help you create listings. Okay, from inventory, from just images. We can do many things for you. But I think what Vikki is saying, for me, the higher the plan, the more time you save. Can you do it manually? No doubt. You can cross list manually. You can end listings manually. You can create templates manually. You can create, many things. You can share manually.
You can copy and paste, use ChatGPT for every listing, which I think is a pain in the ass. I don't know who does that, but I know people that do that. I should say. I shouldn't say.
I know. We know.
I know people that do it. I love you dearly, but my goodness, that's a lot of extra work.
It is.
And arthritis for sure. You're going to have, even if you're doing Command A, okay, Command C, Command V, okay, still's going to hurt a little, okay? So I just want to put that time, your time, resellers, is very valuable.
Time is money.
What you invest on a very, like Vikki said, when you invest for a tool, make sure it's saving you the time so you can use that time in order to analyze what strategies you need to use in order to take your business to the next level, because we gotta be dynamic in reselling.
And when I first started, and I know that we've got to go, but I just wanted to say, when I first started using List Perfectly, one of the things that I said, for me, it was this time saver. So what it did, I had an assistant that I was paying by the hour to cross post for me, and it was manual cross posting onto Etsy and doing other things. What I was able to do was to take the money and the time that I saved by using List Perfectly services and reinvest that money and that time into another portion of my business that allowed me to expand in a better way. Use the tools that are available for you in this world, all of the tools, in order to make yourself be a more successful seller and a successful business. Not everybody wants to sell $1 million a year. I mean, I'm sure we don't like to.
Yeah,
but doesn't want that.
But not everybody.
Believe it or not, yes, believe it or not, there are resellers out there.
Some people are just trying to fund the gymnastics classes for their kids.
True. Yeah.
Some people are doing this as a full-time business to pay their mortgage. It does not have to be the way that I do business is the way you have to do business.
Oh, right? Absolutely.
And I know Trish says the same thing. We just want you to have the best business for you that you can have. We want you to grow. If you want to grow, I want to help you grow.
Right.
If you want to, I don't know, whatever.
No, but I think you're right. I want you, and I say this all the time, like, where are you trying to go? Like, tell me where you're trying to go, and then I'll help you try to get there. But if you're trying to build a business, that's different than if you are a part-time. And listen, there are also people, I can only make so much money a year, right?
Correct.
And so that's a different thing. So knowing what you're trying to do is very important. And whatever you're trying to do, the three of us want to help you get there. I mean, that is just, I know that in my soul. We all want you to do whatever you're trying to do here. And the great thing about reselling is you get in what you put into it. You absolutely, it's one of the few things in life that I think what you put in, you get out. And, you just have to figure out where you're trying to go. Vikki, thank you so much. We're going to go to Listing Party if anybody wants to come join us. We're going to go do an after show.
I'll join you. How do I join you?
You just go into Oh, Vikki, I'll send you a link.
I have to go to the listing party to.
Yeah, I'll send you a link, my friend.
And real quick, everybody, here is Katie and Vikki's. This is her YouTube channel, their YouTube channel. If you please can subscribe and like. Also, all right, I want to share with everybody real quick. Let's see here. We also have, if you want to learn more about vintage and go deeper, the secret to selling vintage successfully, exclusive tips from Vikki. This is unlisted.
Oh, that's a deep dive, man. That was a while ago.
Yeah, but again, this is a very popular session. You have here more information about Vikki, or you can also join their Facebook group, the Boss group, or even in List Perfectly group. But also join us now on Listing Party so we can have a dialogue with you and deepen our conversation.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
Have an amazing weekend and many sales. Cha-ching! Bye, everybody.